Well, Nate, it looks like Cyberpunk is back in the news again. Over at Bloomberg, Jason Schreier, one of the best in the business, actually got some discussions with over 20 developers that were current and former employees of CD Projekt Red to talk about the disastrous launch of Cyberpunk 2077. And I highly recommend you go over there and check out his article. We're just going to touch on a couple highlights that really stood out to us. But Nate, this dude, like,
Ooh. Where do we get started on this mess?
Exactly, right? So earlier in the week, we saw an actual apology come out from one of the head over at CD Projekt Red. A 5-minute video was out, and he was apologizing, saying that they did not meet the quality standard that they were looking for, and that the entire leadership team are deeply sorry for this. Now, as I watched that video, most of it came across as I'm sorry to our investors kind of thing, who were misled and misguided on the journey and launch of CD Projekt Red's Cyberpunk 2077, because prior hype to the launch of the game, Nate, sold something like 13 million copies before and after launch, within the first 10 days actually of launch. 13 million copies of the game. So that's PC, Stadia, Xbox One, Series X, S, PS4, PS5.
That's even on the PS4 and PS5 before it got pulled.
Well, that's just it too, right? So that's the other side of it as well, is that it actually got pulled, which is something that's completely unheard of from the PlayStation Store, because it was just kicking people out and just locking the console up, and it was just one problem after another after another. And the biggest thing is, after reading Jason's article, is that, and we all kind of figured this as well, they all knew. Nate, they knew the state of the game.
They had to have known. There's no way that you could tell me that this slipped through the cracks, man. I've seen this. I've witnessed this on the original consoles, and it is unplayable. Man, they delayed this game how many times, and you're telling me that they thought it was ready? Or that they didn't know, or whatever? No.
Well, they stated that they did extensive testing and never came across some of the possible bugs and issues that console players were expecting. So yeah, right. Where yet in some of the internal team that Jason was able to speak with said, oh no, we knew about these bugs. They just didn't have the time to fix the bugs before the game launched. So outright, CD Projekt Red just completely lied to all of its fans, and sounds like a lot of the investors as well. And I kind of question now the future, because we talked about this game for years, Nate, and you know, I was asked, do you think this game will have bugs? And I said, not a chance, because of The Witcher and how polished that was by the end of their life cycle over there on the consoles and stuff like that, that everybody built this hype and the standard you put the company on, and you kind of had something, you had them on a high pedestal. And
we did for a long time, man. And dude, E3 2018, they had their huge presentation, and everybody that came out of it that witnessed it was like, if this is the game, this is amazing. And they claimed that it was. But in fact, it was not. They wasted almost half a year, a few months, man, developing a demo for E3, when they could have spent that time maybe actually fixing some of these bugs that are just atrocious.
No, absolutely. It's such a disappointment to hear that that's how that actually went down. And like, getting back to Jason, he obviously is very good at his job. He does very well at getting the information from the people to kind of lay it out. So if you're going to screw up like this, Jason's going to get to the bottom of it and bust you on it. And that's exactly what's happened. So again, go check out Jason's article over at Bloomberg. It is a phenomenal read. But Nate, like, I don't understand how you could launch a game knowing the state of the game. So when they launched it and they said, okay, the game's gone gold, the internal team, someone actually asked if it was a joke, because they were thinking 2022 is when the game should actually launch, not this year.
And dude, 2022, even if they still wanted to hit that PS4, Xbox One games, that's the end of their cycle. That typically is when all the games kind of stop being made. So they could have still maybe hit that market if they wanted to, or they could have just said screw it and committed to Stadia, PC, Series X, and PS5, and then had a game that wouldn't have had this disastrous of a launch, man, even if it was launched on their proper time, because they clearly wasted way too much time on the original consoles.
No, absolutely. They should probably
or not enough time.
Well, they probably should have just pushed the old gen consoles aside and went new gen. But what they wanted to do is focus on both consoles and double dip. That was their overall goal, was to get money from everybody on both generations. Business-wise, sounds great. In the end, didn't work. Not even close to how the disastrous launch that was. Our good buddy Steve from the show can't even run the game on his console, on his old Xbox. He had to upgrade it to the new one in order to actually run it. You and I both played on the Series X. Corey played it on the Stadia, which actually sounds to run even better over there.
Yeah.
But it's just been an absolute disaster. CD Projekt Red has just dug themselves into a massive hole.
And it makes me sad, man, because they, like, I don't want to rag on too many companies, but lots of companies have made these mistakes. You know, we've had our Anthems, we've had our Avengers, we've had
No Man's Sky.
Like, No Man's Sky. There's just, the list goes on for years back. But unfortunately, CD Projekt Red, man, we've just held them so dear for so long, because The Witcher was great. The TV series that was, The Witcher was great as well. So it's just like, I don't know, so much hype going around this. And it just sucks, man. It really does suck.
It does suck, because this could have been a Game of the Year contender.
Could have been a Game of the Decade, man. If it was 2022, wow, I guarantee you would have been talking about this like Skyrim for the next 10 years.
Absolutely.
Instead, now it's a redemption story and not, a graceful story.
Absolutely. Let us know at insidethegame.ca if you got to check out Cyberpunk.